Hey, what's up? Welcome to the Off Air Podcast with Slater and Marjo, Season 1, Episode 6.
Six in already.
That's right.
And a great guest for our 6th episode.
Yes, we're going to be talking to Dr. Shivantha Amarnath. He is a gastroenterologist in Western Massachusetts, part of the H-1B visa program in the States. Originally born in Sri Lanka, and we're going to find out where he went to school, and we'll talk Indian culture, and
American culture, gastroenterology.
We'll talk cancer, prevention, a little politics as well. What else?
I think that's it.
I think that's it.
Don't forget to like and subscribe to Our Fair by Slater and Marjo.
The Off Air Podcast with Slater and Marjo is brought to you by Bagel and Brew on Franklin Street in Lenox, offering bagels, sandwiches, breakfast, lunch, and a good time.
Love myself a good bagel.
You do. What's your favorite sandwich from
Those
Bagel?
complex carbohydrates.
What's your favorite? You seem like a lumberjack kind of guy.
I like the Raging Cajun bagel.
There you go.
Yeah. Dr. Shivantha Amarnath. What's up?
Nailed it right off the bat.
It was perfect. Actually.
We practiced a couple times.
Yeah, I can tell. But you guys did it well.
You called me in our email exchange Mr. Brian, which is my first name.
Yes.
So in Sri Lanka, where you were born, it's backwards. Is that how they? What is your first name? What is your last name?
So technically, I was born with my first name of Amarnath. This is like a full disclosure. Like all my friends get confused every single time anyway. Yeah. And my last name was Shivantha. So what happens in Sri Lanka? The tradition is that when you're born, you kind of inherit your dad's first name as your last name. So you can't track lineage. Because you can imagine, my dad's first name is my last name. So that's how it kind of goes there.
Interesting.
But when I went to England and then all my diplomas and everything got switched. Mm-hmm. So they used my surname. So my last name became my first name and my first name became my last name. So I got it legally changed so that now we can track lineage and then we can keep it that way.
Yeah. What do you prefer?
Amr. Call me Amr. Yeah, that's the easiest way to go.
Amr.
Yeah. That's how I introduce myself to my patients as well.
Okay.
Long story short, Amr. Just call me Amr.
Right. You are a gastroenterologist.
Yes.
And you're here in the States on an H-1B visa.
Yes.
Kind of a hot topic right now.
Oh, tell me about it.
Yeah. That is where, so you're not a citizen?
No, I'm not a citizen.
Right. So you applied to work here because, so basically H-1B is where they're seeking out specific skills.
Yes, exactly.
And that sort of lack within the American population.
Precisely.
So tell us how that started. Like, how did you?
Yeah, sure, no problem.
Was that your dream and hope to come here and practice medicine?
So it's kind of a long story, actually. So I'll try to summarize it really briefly. So my initial path was not in medicine. I was actually like a huge fan of CSI Las Vegas. I wanted to be like Gil Grissom. So I wanted to pursue forensics. So I did biology in England. Then one of my professors told me, I think it's not how that is in real life. You don't get to get cool cases every single day. It's on a rare occasion. So it's best you shift gears and focus on something you're interested. So my dad's an ophthalmologist. So medicine was always in my background. Mm-hmm. So that is something that I kind of gravitated towards normally. And Brexit happened when I was graduating from England, and then I kind of changed gears, and then professor told me, like, why don't you try the US? It's, a lot of opportunities there. You get to learn more and then, go through that path. So I went through medical school and everything, and I came
in England? Or?
No. So what happened was to do medical school in the US, like the easiest track for me was to go through a Caribbean school because they kind of recognized my degree and everything. Okay. And I didn't want to take a long-winded path because I'm literally going after my undergrads. So I did it at St. George's University. I mean, that's already a YouTube video on that with my interview after graduation. So that was phenomenal because I got to do my preclinical years on the island. It was amazing. I mean, how can many people can say
really?
that like they went to a Caribbean school and enjoyed the beaches there while you're doing med school. And I did my clinical rotations in New York. That's for my 3rd and 4th year. And because you get that option, because if you wanted to go back to England, you can still do that. So I really enjoyed my rotations here in New York. So I was like, oh my gosh, if I want to do training, I want to do training here. So I wasn't fully set on whether I wanted to continue my job and everything here. I wanted to just do training. And New York is it really was deficient in a lot of doctors, especially trainees, because there were not that many Americans to fill that spot. So they had to get a lot of international grads. So, go through the ranks. And that's how I started on with an initial visa called the J1 visa. Essentially, it's kind of like an exchange visitor visa where you come and do all your training in exchange that either you go back home to your home country or you try to help out in an underserved population. So I finished all my training on residency and fellowship and all that kind of stuff. And then I was given the opportunity where, like, you know, if you wanted, you can come to an underserved area where there are not that many specialists in this particular town.
Yes.
That's how I ended up here.
Okay, so Western Massachusetts in particular lacks your specialty.
Yes, especially in Pittsfield area, they were in high demand for gastroenterologists to especially serve the population here.
Yeah.
So, because they were already like almost like close to 2,000 to 3,000 screening colonoscopies behind, and they had enough population to come over and cover it.
Got you.
Was it a lottery system? I was trying to do some research a little earlier on. So anyone who applies, it's not everyone who applies sort of gets in, even though you're sort of like good for it.
Yeah.
But it's a lottery system because so many people. I think it's capped at like 65,000. I think.
So you're right in saying that. That applies for other lines of work, not necessarily in medicine. Because what happens in medicine, like you kind of fall into the higher tier category in terms of like, you know, your demand and what goes on. So you can pretty much go anywhere in the country that is in dire need of physicians to fill the spot because there are not enough American physicians to fill that spot. And like the demand is there because of the population who needs your specialty.
Yeah.
So for me, I could have just gone anywhere, but my wife and I, we decided like we want to stick around in the Northeast. And I visited Massachusetts once, and it reminded me so much of England. It is a new
of course.
No, totally.
That makes sense.
So I like to try my chances, and I got lucky, and I'm here now. Yeah,
that's awesome. Where's your wife from?
So she's originally from India. Believe it or not, we met on Hinge during my fellowship time.
Love that. You're a Hinge success story.
Yes,
Good for you.
yes, yeah. We should be officially sponsored by them.
Really.
But so that's how we met at the time, and everything kind of worked out.
So Sri Lanka is right south of the Tropic of Cancer. Yeah.
Yes, you did some research.
A little bit, yeah. Because it's been so hot here.
Yes.
Recently, I didn't know if this was sort of nothing for you.
Yes. Oh my gosh. Yeah. I mean, believe it or not, like I'm very intolerant to heat. I tell my wife I cannot go anywhere warm. So Florida is a hard no.
Yeah.
But honestly, Sri Lanka is like actually on the equator. The capital was Colombo. That's where I was like born and raised. So it got so hot that my parents decided to move inland towards a town called Kandy. It's very, very similar to how the Berkshires are, except it doesn't snow. But it's south of India, and it's a very culturally diverse population. I know 3 languages. English is actually my 3rd language.
Wow.
So, yeah.
What else do you speak?
So I speak, my mother tongue is Tamil because by faith I'm Hindu. So that's like the main language that's spoken there. It's very similar to what a subsect of South India speaks, to be honest. And then Sinhalese, which is what the Buddhists speak there. It's their national language. And that's something through schooling we learned. I can't write anymore, but I can speak with it.
Yep.
And then English. English is something because my parents always wanted me to go and do my education abroad and get a much better experience. So I was always tutored in everything in English. I had my own tutor and went through all that, and that's how I became a little bit proficient, I would say, in English.
Very proficient.
Thank you.
So I have to ask you. So Elon and Trump were sort of fighting. So because Elon's here on came into this country as on the H-1B visa, and he was sort of championing it. And I'm sorry, he was. One of them was against it. One of them was for it. I can't believe I'm screwing this up. But
that's okay.
How do you feel? What's your response to the crowd that says, the people on the H-1B visa, they're stealing the jobs from Americans who live here? How do you respond? Have you heard anything like that?
I mean, not specifically in the medical field, because honestly, to meet the demand of the nation, that's not enough doctors graduating from med schools here to begin with, and there are not a lot of American physicians that wants to go to certain areas, so that's always that deficiency. So that's one way, because if you're getting, that's why the system is perfect in a sense that you're getting trained here, you're getting used to the healthcare system, you know exactly how to deal with the medical issues that's going on here. So if you're going through that path, having that accessibility to serve that population is there. So I haven't faced that kind of argument, so to speak, in the healthcare industry. But in the other industry, maybe. It's very possible. Yeah.
But by definition, this is a chance for folks to come here and work because there isn't the market for it, right?
Yes,
Isn't
yes,
isn't that
that's
like
where- yes.
precisely the opposite of what those people are saying?
Right. Because you said you're not hearing this in the medical field.
Yes.
But that argument sort of came up when Trump and Elon were fighting earlier in the year specifically about the H-1B visa. What was your image of the States when you lived in Sri Lanka? First of all, when did you come here?
Oh, that
how old were you?
Yeah,
You're 37 now.
Yeah, I'm 37 now. So that was like almost, I would say, in my early 30s, because I was doing my rotations, and I was like, I would say early 30s. Like I was like 29, 30, around that time. Yep.
So as a kid growing up in Sri Lanka, what was your perception of the States?
I mean, honestly, everything about the States was translated through Hollywood for us.
Yeah, well, that's how.
obviously,
Yeah,
I knew it.
Yeah, that's always the case.
Yeah.
So honestly, like that was literally our impression. Like it was like the ultimate, like if you want to accomplish something in your life and you want to get to that and you have a dream, this is a place where you come to get that dream accomplished. I personally was not sure of exactly which path I wanted to take in life. So that's why for us, what happens is, you see, as Sri Lanka, we were colonized by the British. So our education system is very similar to England.
Yep.
So my initial focus was focused on England, but things sort of took a different turn in my career. So that's how I came here. And I have to say, like, not in several years, I could tell you right now that I would have imagined that I would be doing what I'm doing right now.
Oh, that's great.
Because gastroenterology is an extremely competitive field in the States and even in England. And because it's a procedural field and the field is so fantastic, it's, you get to see so much pathology. And to do something like this and putting your hard work in, despite all the immigration stuff and like not being a local here and everything, trying to work yourself so hard that you can get to this stage, like that fulfilled my dream, and like that opportunity only came because I came here.
Yeah,
Which is like phenomenal.
Yeah, that is phenomenal. Yeah, we're happy to have you.
Yeah, thank you.
And congrats on, and just impressed with all your hard work.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate it.
What's the long-term goal for you? Do you want to become a full-time U.S. citizen? Like, what's your...
So that's a good question,
game?
actually. So right now, because I'm doing my J1 waiver on H-1B, essentially. So which means that I'm serving this population for 3 years. I really love the Berkshires. I love the patient population here. I find my job so rewarding. I get to work with so many amazing people at the hospital. So it's for right now, for the next 3 years, because I'm contracted to finish off my waiver for those 3 years, is I'm going to be here for the next 3 years at least. After that, how things will change is kind of hard to predict, because it depends, because I'm a dad. I have a 6-month-old at home.
Congrats.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like navigating the path in terms of like what my wife wants, what my family wants. So if the cause play out right, and if you're planning to settle down here, we'll try our chances and see if things could work out. But if not, then we change gears and think about something else. But after putting so much effort in here in this country, and you giving it your all, and serving this population, there is a little want of like, oh my gosh, I could continue doing this job. It's essentially, the job is what we love here, because my wife is also in healthcare. She is a internal medicine hospitalist physician at Bay State.
Oh, okay.
So essentially, so we are both in healthcare, so we love doing what we do.
Yeah.
So if this is something that we can continue doing, we can see ourselves there.
Yeah.
Gastroenterology.
Yeah.
I had my first colonoscopy.
Yes.
He loved it.
Yeah.
No, he really did.
It's always a
I'm
pleasant
not kidding.
experience.
I love it.
Yeah.
I did like the sedative.
I was gonna say.
That's 90% of the accomplishment when you're coming through this.
Most people, or some people, don't choose to be sedated under general anesthesia, and I just cannot imagine that. Like, literally,
Neither can
they're
I.
going up your colon with a camera on a stick. But they put me out, and so the rise in cancer in younger people is cause for concern.
Yes, absolutely.
What's up?
Okay, let me talk to you about that.
Yeah.
So if I were to tell you, this is going to be some scary numbers, but this is the fact, is that if you were born after 1960s, you are twice as more likely to be diagnosed with colon cancer before the age of 50 compared to those who were born before 1960.
Really?
Yeah.
This is based on data. This is based on extensive
I love
research.
Data.
Yeah, because it's called the birth cohort effect. So essentially what happens is what they've noticed is that they did extensive research on this, looking at what's driving this. Why are patients younger than the age of 50 getting diagnosed with colon cancer? And they're very aggressive when they do get diagnosed with it. So it's a combination of multiple factors. Like, my patients always ask this when I find a polyp and I remove a polyp and it's a precancerous polyp, like, why am I getting this? The answer is like, there's no one single answer. It's just so many things go into it.
Yeah.
Your genetics do play a role, but then you have so many other environmental factors called exposomes that kind of contribute to it. It starts from when you're in utero, believe it or not. And it goes up until adulthood, the way your lifestyle is and all that stuff. So multitude of factors go in. I can just briefly mention a few, for example. Like, for instance, like, did your mom get diagnosed with maternal diabetes? Right? Like, were you an overweight child when you were born? Did you have childhood obesity? All those factors actually drive you into getting an increased risk into that category. Early exposure to antibiotics, in this day and age, like, you cough a little bit, everyone gets an antibiotic, right? Like, imagine for kids, like, newborns, like, early exposure to that. Because what happens is, antibiotics have a damaging role in the gut. That doesn't mean you shouldn't be taking antibiotics, but early exposure, when your microbiome is getting adapted and used to it, you are just kind of like giving a little balm, which is like an antibiotic, and that's going to change the course. It causes what's called like a colonic dysbiosis, and that can change your microbiome, putting you at risk. And if you have genetic factors, it can trigger a switch where you can start forming polyps early in life.
Is this specific to colon cancer, all of these X factors?
Yes.
Okay.
It's because that's where it's the most common GI cancer that is here right now, and is also spreading us worldwide. And we are noticing an increase in trend, and that is very common for colon cancer.
So you're seeing this trend worldwide, not just in the States.
But it's in the States, it's much more prominent. But yes, it is there worldwide, because you have to have screening strategies, right? The more screening you do, the more you're going to be diagnosed with it.
What about the food that people are eating?
Yes.
Like, I imagine the crap and chemicals that's appeared in food since the 1960s, right?
Oh, absolutely. So the main thing is like, so the one diet that has actually proved to be the best fighter for any polyp formation and minimizing colon cancer risk is the Mediterranean diet. The Mediterranean diet is the best. If I were to break it into a simple form, if you have your plate, half of your plate should be vegetables, especially cruciferous vegetables like broccoli, cauliflower, and whatnot. The other quarter of it should be healthy, lean proteins coming from seafood, chicken, less processed red meat, especially 1 to 2 servings a week is okay. And the rest should be just like your complex carbs, right? That should be the best way to go. Yeah. Because what happens is that, like, with the Mediterranean diet, like, you're increasing anti-inflammatory and anti-cancerous properties. So that's why that helps a huge role with it. What's wrong with the Western diet, right? That's like the traditional American diet, especially if you go to Burger King and whatnot. Like, it depends on social economic status.
Drive-through King over here, my friend.
Exactly.
Being brought to you by McDonald's and Dunkin'.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly right.
Listen, no, go ahead. I'll let you.
Yeah, no, for sure. Like, if you look at like a burger, like, you see like it's not fully satiating, even though it has like 800 to 1,000 calories packed into it, right?
What do you mean satiate?
Like, in terms of satiation, like feeling full. Like, you're feeling off full. Like, you can have like a Big Mac that's almost like 1,500 calories.
What is wrong with, besides the packaging of McDonald's and the fries? Like, is there anything bad about the meat? Because I looked about the
Yes,
okay,
absolutely.
what is it about the meat?
So
we're not sponsored by McDonald's.
I can clearly tell that. Absolutely.
I mean, I love a double burger from McDonald's, the double quarter pounder, and I'll take the bread off or whatever, honestly, and I'll put it in like bulgur and quinoa, a little hot sauce or whatever.
Oh yes.
But there's something about the McDonald's taste, and I know I'm sort of tricking myself. I understand, but what is it about that meat that's not good?
So it's not just the meat. It's like, what are the ingredients that are used to cook the meat and what goes into the meat? Because red meat itself, if you're eating on a regular basis, that increases gut inflammation, and that can put you at risk of forming polyps.
Gotcha.
Now, the main thing is like the fats. Like, okay, what kind of ultra processed fats are they using? What kind of unhealthy oils are they using? That's a key thing. I know seed oils are a big thing in the market right now, but to be honest with you, if you look at the evidence, like, it's equal. Like, honestly, it's not just seed oils have a bad rap. It's just like some people like to just influence it in such a way. But the problem is, like, when you're not using healthy fats, and these oils have been like sitting around for a long period of time, they go through their own oxidation process, and that forms mediators that can affect your colon. That's the reason why.
My father-in-law's been knocking on my door about metabolic health and seed oil and stuff, and going bad and rancid and heat, and what to cook with in high heat, and there's different, so coconut oil we use to cook
absolutely.
with.
Coconut, you can't go wrong.
It's expensive though, dude. It's like $14.99 a bottle.
Well, we all know that eating healthy is usually more expensive than eating.
But it's a
poorly.
very good point, though. Anytime you try to eat healthy, it's the most expensivest thing.
Yeah.
Eating like bad food, processed food, getting a burger is much more cheaper.
Well, even
Yeah.
McDonald's
That's the unfortunate problem.
Yeah.
So if you look at it, when you look at the statistics for colorectal cancer, those who have low socioeconomic status, who are just have readily access to these kind of foods, like frozen foods that you get
Yep,
off
you
the
live in a
microwave.
food desert. You're walking.
Exactly.
You're getting your food at a convenience store because maybe you're walking there and
Precisely.
all that kind of
all
stuff.
that kind of stuff.
Now,
going.
the Indian diet is not great, though.
No,
I wanted to ask you,
Honestly,
like, culturally,
yeah.
what do you think
Yes.
about the Western diet, and how does it compare to other places you've lived or Sri Lanka?
Oh yeah, sure. So for me, that's the beauty of it, because I always wanted to travel across different continents to kind of learn different ways. And one of the things is about diet. So in England, the usual English breakfast, like a pork sausage, mashed potatoes.
I just went there for the first time a couple months ago, and it was I was very intrigued as to what they were eating for breakfast. But
Exactly.
anyway.
It's not the most ideal, but it has its merits. So the Indian diet also, again, it looks at like what you're eating, right? So the one pro factor is that it's, especially when you focus on the northern part of India, if you're vegetarian, it's very good, because essentially most of that is coming from seeds, legumes, and vegetables and whatnot. But the problem is, like, in the way it's cooked, it's calorie dense. There's a lot of like diabetes, there's a lot of heart disease.
Yeah.
So mainly it's because they use fats like ghee. Ghee is kind of like, from animal fat. So the problem is, like, it's more calorie dense. And when you eat too much of it, it's healthy for you. Don't get me wrong, in small portions, in moderation.
Like a
It's
healthy
like
fat.
boiled butter. Isn't
Yeah,
it?
exactly.
Is
Close
like
to
they
it.
Just, they boil butter and they take the top off or something.
Very similar to it. So, but the thing is, when you eat in larger amounts, and it's very carb dense. The problem in India is that the protein is mostly obtained from vegetables, vegetable based protein. So it's not that much protein content. It's mostly carb driven. So that's why diabetes and heart disease, what we call the trifecta, the metabolic syndrome, your cholesterol, your hypertension, your diabetes, runs like florid there, because of that being the ultimate driving factor.
Is there an obesity problem in India like there is in the U.S.?
So yeah, especially like
I just don't think, again, perception is reality, I suppose. Like, I just think of Americans being fat, and especially traveling abroad. Like, you go to other countries and it's obvious. You could just look at people walking down the street. But anyway, sorry,
I see Indian people, with like little pot bellies.
Oh yes. One, there's a huge genetic factor to it as well.
Yeah. So I'm not being wildly inappropriate.
No, absolutely. No. So that is a population where, like, the problem is genetics play a huge role in this. Obviously. But you have to understand, though, everything that Taco Bell is in India. We get Burger King in India too now.
Yeah, of course.
So what happens is, like, diet-wise, all this also is becoming available. And again, they are cheap. So vast majority of the time, if you notice, even that has been like a shift over the recent years, where obesity is becoming more predominant, even childhood obesity.
Yeah.
That's mainly driven by like these calorie-dense foods. So that influence is spreading around. So that is there.
Your job as a gastroenterologist, what are you doing mostly? You doing preventative, or are you treating? I know, because right now when you go in for a colonoscopy, if a polyp comes up, boop, they just take it out right away.
Yeah.
They've been doing that for years.
Yes.
And so what?
So yeah.
50-50?
So for me, gastroenterology essentially is that. So I'll answer that question by answering how bad medicine is right now.
Yeah.
Medicine, almost like a couple of decades ago, it's all about treating when things have gone wrong. Now, paradigm has shifted, where we're trying to medicine 2.0 is all about preventing things from happening in the first place. That's why screening modalities came into place. So for me, my thing is, like, I am not just a gastroenterologist, I'm a liver specialist as well, and I manage IBD too. So that's
liver. I gotta ask you about my friend's liver enzymes.
Yes, always. That's like the immediate thing that always comes in.
All right, that's coming up next.
Yeah, because that's where the GI tract is beautiful. I find it much more interesting than the heart. No offense to my wife, but yes. But honestly, because the pathology is like very varied. So mine is all about preventative. That's the primary focus. And also, if things go wrong, I'm there to manage it as well. So I do a bit of both, actually. So that's how my practice is divided.
Normal person, when should they be getting screened for colon cancer with a colonoscopy?
That's a very good question. I have a very nice answer for that. So per guidelines now, if you don't have any family history of colon cancer, if you don't have any family history of inflammatory bowel disease or any history of polyps, routine screening should be at 45. Keep in mind, routine screening means you don't have any symptoms. Whenever any patient is referred to me, even if in their 30s or in their 40s, I always ask them 3 main questions. And you guys, and I hope your audience also focus on the same thing, ask these 3 questions. Am I noticing any significant change in my bowel habits that's not good? Am I noticing a lot more blood in my stool? am I losing weight unintentionally? Any one of these three things come in, it's always best to seek your gastroenterologist to discuss about getting a colonoscopy done. I'll tell you about this one case that really shifted my perspective in terms of how aggressive I want to be in terms of preventing and fighting colon cancer, is that when I was in fellowship, this one 40-year-old lady came to me in my clinic, and she was a working professional. She was a lawyer. She was working in the city. She was just referred here because she was anemic.
Okay. Iron deficient.
Exactly. Iron deficiency. So, okay, like, she was still having a period. So, young female, like, having, excessive periods, that could be iron deficiency. But no, guidelines say that, like, when anyone especially in America, have iron deficiency, you got to make sure it's not coming from your GI tract. It's not something you can use. So we discussed that and we said, like, okay, let's proceed with an endoscopic workup and see if there's nothing going on there. Because she was like, really low. Her counts were like almost 9 hemoglobin wise. So I do the endoscopy looks fine, and I do a colonoscopy. As I'm making the turn and going towards the right portion of the colon.
Making the turn, sorry. Yes, I'm a child. I can't help myself.
No worries.
As I'm making the turn.
You're on a golf course, right?
Yeah.
I told my wife, I learned to drive like literally like 2 years ago.
Okay.
And that's thanks to my wife because she taught me how to drive. I told her, like, hey, I can drive a scope through a patient's colon. I can do it. It shouldn't be that bad.
All right, so you're making the turn.
Yeah, I'm making the turn. And I'm already not liking what I'm seeing. I get closer and closer, and I see this mass in the rightmost portion of her colon. She had 0 symptoms, didn't notice any blood in her stool. My heart just sank.
Because you knew it was bad.
I knew it was bad. I didn't have to wait for the biopsies. I knew it was bad.
Yeah.
And the worst part was because I kind of built a good rapport with her. That's the one thing I always focus on, because managing this is a lifelong condition. Not just the colon cancer itself, anything GI related, you form long-term relationships with your patient. So I built a good rapport with her, and she told me like she was just engaged 3 months before having seen the clinic. Yeah. So her whole life turned upside down. Thankfully, it did not spread. We caught it at an earlier stage where it was still localized. She just had to have surgery done.
Great.
She pushed her, her wedding ceremony like by a couple of months after all that was done. And then as soon as like I started here, I think I got a message from her saying that like everything is good now. Everything is good in life. Yeah. So that really kind of changed my perspective in terms of how aggressive I want to be in terms of like, seeking out the questions, because sometimes your patients don't come to you telling you about these things.
Yeah.
It's not like you get like an advert mentioning these things.
Yeah.
So that's something to focus on. Yeah.
When do you have do you want to get inside people and check them out? Like, do you have that like compulsion? Like, because you love your specialty so much and you want to help and you're out there and you just want to check everybody. Is there truth to that, or you just kind of want to come to you?
So the main reason is like, so you see, like by the time something inside of you is starting to show symptoms, it usually tends to be late.
Right.
So because like, your entire GI tract starts from your mouth all the way goes to your rectum. So by the time something is causing symptoms, it means it's pretty much big enough.
Yeah.
So my fascination is that I always like doing things with my hands. And I found a passion towards it when I was doing my residency. I knew I didn't want to become a surgeon because I didn't really like that kind of lifestyle. It was very long hours and everything. I wanted something where I can manage everything equally well and do minimally invasive, because that's the future of like surgery. That's what I truly believe. So that's how I ended up doing what I'm doing, because I feel like I can make a huge world of difference in these patients, and I can prevent them from having to ever lose a part of their GI tract to surgery or have to go through chemoradiation. So
why do you think people are hesitant? Do you think it's because it's, your colon? Like, why do you think people are hesitant to
Get something stuck up their butt.
Yeah. Like honestly, to make their first colonoscopy appointment, or to, even go to the doctor about anything.
Oh, no, for sure. I think like that is a huge reservation for 2 reasons, actually. So I think one is everyone hates the prep.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
I mean, I haven't done it.
about the prep.
I haven't done it yet.
That bad.
Yeah.
Because you just like the drugs portion.
If you've had diarrhea in your life, I mean, it's not
just
that bad.
It's just inconvenient.
It's
inconvenient. You know what I mean?
It's inconvenient. Yeah, you got to take the night off. You're not going anywhere.
Yeah, you're not going anywhere.
Yeah, you're not going anywhere.
Yeah.
That's one night. It doesn't taste that great, but
true. And it's a little inconvenience, right? Like, say for example, like I'll tell you, I recently did a colonoscopy for a patient like who had never had a colonoscopy, 66 years of age. he wasn't taking the best care of his health. I asked him, why have you never had a colonoscopy? He's like, I really didn't want to drink the prep. Everyone kept telling me, so horrendous. It's absolutely
You guys
disgusting.
can't make one that tastes better? You can't
Unfortunately, we are not
you guys
there yet. But there's ways you can manage. You just
hold
gotta
your
speak.
nose and drink it.
Yeah, just speak to your gastroenterologist. I always give tips and pointers to us how you can make it more palatable, right? So I told him, like, you could just talk to your gastroenterologist. They'll always give you pointers. We are there to help. We'll give you different tips of how better ways to tolerate it. I myself drank that prep because I wanted to see like how the patient's going through. I didn't get a colonoscopy, but just to see the experience.
Yeah.
So he is like, that was the reason. And finally he agreed, look, we really have to do this because like, I don't like that you're having blood in your stool. Let's get this done. He had roughly 33 polyps I removed. It was a 2-hour case. And one of them actually ended up being cancer.
Oh, wow.
So all because
he just
did
didn't
not want to
drink that drink. Yeah. Wow.
So that is one factor. So that's why my suggestion is like always talk to your gastroenterologist. They have enough pointers. I always tell my patients, mix it with a little ginger ale, make it more palatable, use some crystal light. It works like magic. Sip it through a straw. There's so many things you can do that make it better. Number one. Number two, I feel like it's a sense of losing control that like, someone's like doing procedures inside of you, you're asleep, like, you're giving control over to someone else.
Sure.
So that's why it's very, that's a huge thing.
It's just fun. I know. Listen, I'm with you, man. I get it.
Yeah, it's a huge thing. So I think
understand.
that's why, like, when you're having colonoscopies, it's good to have a little rapport with your endoscopist.
Right.
And seeing the same one who's
yeah.
like, seeing you in the clinic is the one doing your procedure. So you have a little bit of confidence in that.
Yes,
Absolutely.
totally.
So,
Yeah. That's one of those are the two main factors I would say.
Yeah.
I mean, I have family history, so I had to get checked a little earlier.
Oh, yes, absolutely.
Just cancer in that area, so to speak.
Because if you fall into high
yeah.
risk, honestly, you got to get scoped at 40.
Yeah, I was 42 or 43.
There we go.
We talked to one of your colleagues one time, and isn't there home tests happening now too? Where people
yes.
can poo in a box, basically.
Poo in a box, yes.
Yeah.
Let me tell you about that. So,
For lack of a better.
that's true. So, lack of a better word, yes. So, I mean, I think you're referring to like Cologuard, the 50 DNA test. Yes. So the main thing is like you have to really appreciate what your risk is. If you fall into the high risk category, none of the guidelines support that. You do not play around.
Right.
You go straight for a colonoscopy. If you're an average risk, still go for the colonoscopy. Do not hesitate because remember, the colonoscopy is not about just finding something. It's about fixing the problem.
Yeah.
While you're in there.
While you're in there. So you want to play around with the test, okay? That like, you see if it's negative, okay, let's see what happens next thereafter. You have to look how good a test is. So the thing is, you have to choose a test that has a sensitivity where it can pick it up early, where it can have a meaningful difference. So if you look at it, for diagnosing stage 1 colon cancer, the Cologuard got a recent version, 2.0. So if a person doesn't want to get a colonoscopy, that's the one I kind of gravitate towards. If you're having a high risk, especially if you're getting stage 1 colon cancer, the sensitivity of picking that up is almost 90%, which is very good. That means 90 out of 100 patients will get a positive test from that.
Yeah.
But you don't want cancer. Isn't it?
Yeah,
Like that's the goal. You don't want to lose your colon. So you
Yeah.
want to go a step further, which is like called as an advanced adenoma, which is an advanced precancerous polyp. So what's the sensitivity of that? It's roughly like around 50 to 60%. So do you want to play with those odds?
Right.
And you want to push it further? That's the thing. If it comes positive, good for you. What about that 50% of the population who doesn't get that positive?
I mean, guys, to be honest with you, I mean, the risk, the colonoscopy is really not a big deal like, at all, dude.
Yeah.
It's just not, unless you're one of the small percentages who freaks out on general anesthesia or something like that, those people go crazy and stuff.
Yeah. But honestly, like vast majority of the patients, like if you talk to them, you ease into them, I like to spend a couple of minutes with them before the procedure and I always reassure them, everything's going to be fine. Yeah. You're going to get the best sleep of your life ever.
Yeah. Yes.
Enjoy what Michael Jackson enjoyed just for those 40 minutes.
Slater said.
Yeah.
So there's like a propofol was unbelievable.
Yeah.
And then when you wake up, it's as if nothing ever happened.
Yeah.
See, why is there is this population out there that's like, you're poking around, you're looking for stuff, and then when you go looking for stuff, that's when you mess it up. And, too much prevention going on. You got the people who are on the other end.
What's wrong with people?
Well, that is true though, because I really we do come across patients like that. That does sometimes happen.
Oh, they're out there.
Like an ignorance is bliss type thing, they'd just rather not know or something? Like what?
Yes, that is a component to that. Like sometimes if you don't find anything, if the doctor doesn't find anything wrong with you, it doesn't mean like, you don't have any symptoms. So why do you have to go to the doctor? So it kind of makes sense. But that's a problem, right? So that's the person who's stuck in medicine 1.0, where when things go wrong, let me go get it fixed.
Right.
You got to get your paradigm shifted towards medicine 2.0, which is let me try to prevent things from happening. So before symptoms stops developing, do the routine screening. Like your last podcast, like you mentioned, getting your mammograms on time. You don't wait for things. You don't take that risk. Same thing.
Endoscopy.
Yes.
The other part of the job. That is esophagus?
Yes. So esophagus, stomach, and the proximal small bowel. Yep.
Okay. proximal small bowel.
Yes. Because so what happens is
What is that?
I'm not the doctor.
I'll keep it very simple. So endoscopy in general
thought-
means anything that's going through your orifice or
Okay.
mouth or rectum, right? So colonoscopy is just for the colon.
Yeah.
We call it
Which is your large intestine.
Exactly.
Yep.
So the endoscopic gastroduodenoscopy is the one that goes through the mouth. So
Yeah.
it's a shorter scope.
And what are you looking for? Cancer?
It's not just cancer, like a multitude of things.
GERD?
Yeah, GERD, Barrett's esophagus, ulcer, celiac disease. There's so many things that you look for. Autoimmune gastritis. Varied pathology. So it depends on the symptoms that you're having and whatnot. There's no screening per se, unless there is a particular high-risk population that you are prone to having certain types of GI cancers where you get periodic endoscopies. But gastric cancer is not common as colon cancer. So that's why colon cancer always gets that merit. But when a patient comes to me, that's why when you go to your gastroenterologist, try to focus, like, do you have any symptoms above your belly button that you want to also get checked out? So bring that attention to your gastroenterologist, and they will think about, okay, you know what? While you're under, rather than wasting everyone's time, especially your time, where you're going to have two separate procedures because you didn't mention this at first, get it done under once.
Might as well get it done.
Exactly.
If the cancer stays local in the colon, you're most likely good 50-50.
Oh, very good. So
Okay,
if it's very localized in the colon, which is called like stage 1 localized cancer,
yeah.
so the survival benefit is almost like 90% after surgery.
Yeah. They have to remove
They
some of the
have-
colon,
yes.
though?
Yeah, it depends. It depends.
Okay.
It's getting refined, actually. So
Yeah.
it depends on how much invasion is going. Because remember, the colon wall has layers. So what we determine is like how deep is it going. If it's
Yeah.
like full-blown cancer is deep, you have to have surgery. But it's only at the surface level. But it looks cancerous, but it doesn't look like cancer, because that's where we come in. We kind of take a look, analyze it much more deeply. Is there something I can resect it endoscopically by layers? That's how we do it. So you can technically get away with just having a colonoscopy, have that removed. But if it's localized, going deeper, you will get a surgery.
Now, while I fear AI will eliminate a lot of jobs in the future, it does have its benefits.
Yes,
I'm
100%.
certain. Like, is AI better than you?
That's a very good question, right?
Yeah.
So I can answer that question by giving you a study that was recently done, where what they did was they kind of used a platform like Reddit and like Ask Doc. So what they did was you pay like people, the general population, post questions, and actual doctors respond to them.
Yeah.
So they posted the same questions through an AI chatbot. It was like ChatGPT.
Yeah.
And they wanted to see how well was the empathic response, how well was the accurate response. So accuracy was relatively similar, but they found that AI was more empathic because it was more descriptive. Oh, I'm so sorry that you're feeling this way. We'll know how it works. But because normally, like if it's a physician who's just typing on Reddit, like, okay, this is definitely not this. They think about this. We keep it like very
Right.
narrowed, obviously, because that's not what you're focusing on. You're not giving a consultation. You're just giving some easy advice. That's all, not to get worried. So AI in my job, like it's very interesting because I don't think AI will ever replace a gastroenterologist, honestly, unless you're going to touch an entire robotic person, like, instruments, rather taking care of your colon. But where it does have merits is in two things. One is, for example, patient who's going through a colonoscopy, or before a colonoscopy, they have questions. It's a chatbot that you can use. We used that back in residency, where they can just message this and it'll give you education in terms of what kind of pointers, what kind of tips you can use. So that way you can increase patient compliance to have the colonoscopy done. Sometimes what I do is, like, when I come up with a plan for a certain patient, I try to just see, let me see what AI does. I'm just curious. So I just put that scenario without giving my plan to see what AI does. It gives you a very good differential, but plan-wise, it's still not there.
I thought it was more like detection.
Yes, it's very
Like
good.
that they're gonna find stuff that the doctors don't find. Like that's how I keep hearing that.
Yes.
Like that's where AI is gonna come in. The doctor, there was a hidden polyp around a wall, but AI found it. So that sort of thing.
Very true. So if you're talking about in the colonoscopy perspective, I actually trained with AI because when we were doing residency, we were so lucky. This was at Staten Island University Hospital. One of my attendings, John Shalhoub, shout out to him. He was able to get a grant to set this up for us. It's called GI Genius, so to speak.
Okay.
So basically what it does is,
Makes sense.
do you guys remember 1987 RoboCop? It was very
vaguely.
Do you know how?
We know I haven't seen it, but I know.
Oh my
of it,
gosh,
right?
yeah. I mean, you must
Put it
know
on the
those
list.
iconic scenes where he has this auto-targeting system where it's a reticle, like a square-shaped reticle that pops up, like when he's trying to aim towards something. I don't know if you guys remember that.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, if you Google image it, like the auto-targeting system will pop up. So that's how RoboCop kind of targets his accuracy, like in terms of shooting his enemies. So that same thing was there when you are kind of doing the colonoscopy with this GI Genius, because it kind of helps identify those polyps.
Okay.
And kind of keep you focused to help you remove it. Then came 2.0 of that, where it kind of suggest what kind of polyp it could be. The problem is not all polyps are made the same. Not everything is precancerous. There are some polyps that are just benign. You don't even have to remove them; they just like stay on their own. So there's a lot of noise, but with enough time and training, probably it may get there. But what they've actually found out is that if you already are very good at detecting your polyps, AI doesn't make much of a difference.
What is a polyp that's not cancerous?
Yes.
What is it?
So polyp is kind of like an abnormal growth that's happening because of, like I said, the combination of genetic factors and environmental factors contributing to an abnormal growth where it can become a thing that can eventually lead to cancer. Not all polyps become cancer. That's a key thing because everyone assumes that like, oh, I removed like 10 polyps. All 10 of them could have been potential cancers. The answer is it's possible. But is it true? Very less likely because they have to go through certain mutations, the genetic mutations as they go over time, and that's how they become cancer.
But they all go.
Yeah.
You take them all out.
Yeah, we take them all out because the reason is you don't know which ones are going to go in which direction. So that's, especially with family history and all that being considered, you remove them. You do not play around with that.
You mentioned liver.
Yes.
You're a liver specialist as well?
Yeah.
I learned the hard way language like ALT and AST.
Yes.
Not that it was a huge issue, but when I was drinking heavily back in my 30s, my AST and ALT were slightly elevated.
Yes.
And I was like, "Well, what's that?" They're like, "Well, that's your report card." That's a what is that? That is a protein or something that shows up, a marker in your blood that shows the liver is being stressed.
So basically, like, there's a bunch of markers that we look at actually when it comes to the liver.
So if people come in lying about how much they're drinking?
Well, yes, exactly. We can tell. We can tell.
I was just going to say, which we know people do, right?
You can tell me you're 6 months sober, but your liver numbers does not prove to be.
Oh, yeah, Doc.
I only have a glass of wine every other night.
I kind of drank, just a little bit.
Just a little bit, yes. So we look at a bunch of parameters, actually. It's a much more complex kind of thing. There's no one marker that is like 100% accurate, but the most sensitive marker that is actually, sensitive is the wrong word. The most specific marker is ALT because it's liver specific. The AST can be found in muscle, especially your heart muscle and skeletal muscles. It's all there as well. So we look at different parameters, put all them together, and based on that, we make that interpretation.
What do you do when people tell you they're not drinking, but their blood shows otherwise? What do you tell them? Do you call them out on their lies?
So, I mean, I don't like confronting my patients that way because the problem is like when it comes to the liver is a very forgiving organ.
It is. It's the only one that can like reproduce itself.
Oh yeah, like regenerate. Or
regenerate. I mean, yeah.
The heart, like it'll wait some time until it takes a punch, but like the liver can keep on taking punches. It's like Rocky, so it'll take on punches until like one time. Okay, you know what? I'm done.
Yeah.
So that's pretty much it. So the main thing to kind of keep in mind is like with regards to the liver, like, yeah, sure. Like, I can tell that like, okay, you're still drinking, but you don't want to confide in me. I like to approach it in a way that like, look, I know where things are. Tell me what's going wrong in your life. Because it's all about having a real conversation with your patient.
You gotta be a psychologist as well.
True. Because the problem is like, it's a complex thing, right? Because you're trying to see the tail end of it. You're seeing a consequence, but you have to focus on the reason. Why is this happening? I know you're drinking, but that's okay. Talk to me about it. Like, what's going wrong? What can I help you with? Because we as as gastroenterologists, we focus on fixing the problem, but we are looking at the tail end of it. We want to make sure that like whatever is causing that issue,
the root cause of it,
that needs to be addressed. So we work with addiction specialists. We work with psychiatrists, psychotherapists, so that like, a multidisciplinary team is kind of involved in addressing that line issue.
I was told that livers are unique. Some you can really beat up. Like, my grandmother drank and drank and
well,
drank and drank
we all know those people. And they live till they're 95 and they're healthy as a horse and blah, blah, blah. And then
I got a buddy of mine, drinks a ton. I said, how's your liver enzymes, dude? Doctor said it was fine. I'm like, that's impossible.
Yeah.
But it is possible.
It's very possible. It's very possible. Each person, it's all about everyone's like metabolism, their genetics, the gift that they were given when they were born. So not everyone like actually has an issue. I've seen patients who drink like a horse like every single day and their liver looks like, oh my gosh, this is like phenomenal. And you've been drinking like this for 10 years?
Yeah.
Stop doing what you're doing first, but kudos to you.
It's still not healthy for you, but well, clearly you have a strong liver, right?
Because it's all about how long until things start going wrong.
Yeah.
That's the key question to ask yourself. So because
ultimately things will start going south. Yeah. And what about your esophagus with drinking?
So side effects with drinking like can increase the risk of like getting cancer. Like
Yeah.
that's one thing that's there. That's why the Surgeon General actually tells you guys like it tells everyone that any alcohol consumption
Vivek
is bad.
Murthy.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. Is he from India or
I believe so. Yes,
yeah.
I think he's Indian origin, but I believe he was born here.
Yeah.
I'm not exactly sure.
Yeah.
But that might
Oh,
be
you
the
guys
case.
don't know each other?
Unfortunately, no. Yeah, my wife may know though. I may have to check with her. Us Sri Lankan Indians, like we have our moments. But so honestly, so any amount of alcohol consumption does have its consequences.
Yeah.
But like the thing is, the question is how much you're drinking, how long you're drinking, and what are you drinking?
Yeah.
Is it hard liquor or is it beer?
Yeah.
It kind of goes with that.
Is it a cultural thing in the US? I mean, obviously we know drinking's so socially acceptable and has kind of been ingrained in the culture for a long time. We are starting to see like a social shift away from that, which I think is great. Is this specific to the US? Do you see it in India? Do you see it in other parts of the world? Like,
Oh, alcohol consumption?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think it's all about how outwardly you're doing your activities. Just because in India, it's not like you don't find that many bars, like open bars. I mean, there are bars for tourists and everyone that's there. Even in Sri Lanka. I'll rather focus on Sri Lanka rather than my wife coming and beating me up right now. It's like there's enough bars for you to go and enjoy life. But in Sri Lanka and stuff, for instance, there are not that many open bars where you can just walk into and have a beer. But there are liquor stores where you can buy liquor from. So it's all about the accessibility is there. It's a widespread worldwide problem.
Yeah.
Honestly. It's not just unique to the US. It's just in the US, it's more apparent. But because it's it's in the news, it's in the media, there's enough of it spreading around. But it's there throughout the world.
You drink whiskey.
Yeah, I
you
love
love
whiskey.
whiskey.
Oh, yes.
That's what I was told.
are you a whiskey connoisseur? Slater's got some NA whiskey,
I
some
know,
zero proof whiskey hanging around here somewhere.
I wouldn't say a connoisseur. I'm building that rapport, I would say. My dad is more of a connoisseur. I mean, being Sri Lankan, whiskey is, it's kind of a drink that you tell yourself that, oh, you know what? I've got this far in life. I think I deserve a whiskey. I think
Gotcha.
I need to shift gears a bit. That's how it's been. Yeah.
What's the most expensive bottle you've
Oh yeah. Or do you
Do you have
a
a
favorite?
cigar with it? Do you have it on ice? Do you have it neat? Do you have-
I used to enjoy like neat, honestly. But then someone taught me that if you add a little bit of a drop of water, it kind of brings out the aroma.
It blooms the flavor.
It blooms the flavor.
Yeah.
Exactly right.
So if you put 1 cube in, have it melt easily. Evenly.
True, exactly. And then that kind of, so that's how I kind of shifted my gears towards.
Do you think about your liver when you're drinking?
100%. Every single time.
Do you?
Yes,
Yeah, that's so
yes.
funny.
Well, I
Yeah.
imagine
How
it's
can you
hard to
not?
turn that part of your
Oh, yeah,
brain
no.
off,
Yeah.
with your own digestion,
absolutely.
your own consumption. And all that stuff.
True. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Because that's why, seeing what I do and the patients that I see on a regular basis, it does limit my perspective. So I don't drink like how I drank during my undergrads. Obviously.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
So, but honestly, on occasion, I always would like to, enjoy on a Friday night when I'm not on call, not covering for the hospital.
Yeah.
A little glass of whiskey. It can go a long way after a brutal work.
You work out?
Oh yeah,
You're a gym person. How many times a week?
So it's a very good question. I used to do for almost 5 days a week.
Yeah.
It was before I was married. After married and having a kid, now it's come down to 3 to 4 times a week because with work, my commute is an hour, so I had to wake up really early in the morning. So I try to do 2 days during the week and 2 days on the weekends. 2 days is the weekend.
Yeah.
You can clearly tell I've been working all day. Saturdays and Sundays. Yeah. I'm a morning person, so I like to do my things on the morning.
Yeah.
And you're a man of faith?
I would say I'm more spiritual.
Yeah.
Yeah. Than religious, so to speak.
Yeah.
Because I think I kind of like the way Hinduism teaches in terms of karma and what the good you put out there comes back to you and how you get to function around people, animals, and all that kind of stuff. So the faith is what's driving me in terms of my spirituality, but religious-wise, not so much.
Yeah.
Because I love steak. My wife always tells me steak.
Yeah.
Steak.
Is that not
Hindu.
Yeah, we don't eat. I mean,
They
the
don't
Hindus don't
eat
eat cows. Yeah,
Cows are a holy,
Gotcha.
right?
Yes.
Oh,
Exactly.
Yeah, steak's amazing.
So I don't cook steak at home. It's only when I go out. It's because my wife, she is very religious. She comes from the northern part of India.
She is super religious.
Yes, it's because her tradition is
Gotcha,
such. Because you have caste systems and everything there. So they are the ultimate Hindus, so to speak, to keep it in simple terms. So she's what you call a Brahmin Hindu. So they are very religious in terms of their cultural customs. They are pure vegetarians and everything.
Yeah.
So I don't don't try to dabble. So imagine me, a meat eater. I'm a huge carnivore, and like with her, so I love her to death. Like she is so amazing. Like she lets me have my life too. But we make agreements. Like okay, like when I go out, I'll have a steak on occasion. But most times not when I'm cooking at home. I try to avoid it.
Yeah. Are you gonna raise your child as a vegetarian or?
No, we decided it's going to be a combination, like
Gotcha.
like a combination of both.
Yeah.
Yep.
6 months old?
6 months old.
You want more kids?
Maximum 2.
Yeah.
Maximum 2. Yeah. Ask me again in a year. We'll find out. But yes, maximum 2.
Yeah.
Yep. Absolutely. Because I had 3 generations of like, on my side, it's all been boys. We kind of got bored of that.
Yeah.
I've been wanting to have a girl because I would like the challenge and I want to have that really unique relationship. And so I got lucky and I had a daughter, and she's the most beautiful thing I've ever laid eyes on. So,
that's great. Do you have family in the States? Is your family in Sri Lanka still?
They're all in Sri Lanka still.
Gotcha.
Yep. It's just me here with my wife and my baby. And my baby was born like last winter. So they came for a couple of months to kind of like help out and whatnot, and they all went back. So it's just me, my wife, and my daughter.
What do you like about American pop culture?
Everything about it. What is that not to like about it?
I couldn't agree with you more. I love pop culture
everything.
so much.
Oh my gosh.
I didn't know if you like trash reality TV or like, or...
So yes, I mean like reality TV, I pick and like I used to be more into it during like, medical school time. Now I barely get any time to watch TV, honestly, with you. To be very frank with you. But yeah, the pop culture, I'm
music.
Game. Yes, music. Yes.
What do you like from music?
Oh, I like house. I love Odessa.
You like what?
Odessa. I love Odessa.
Yeah.
We've been to their concerts multiple times, and like it's something that we left with when we left New York. I remember we initially got some bad news about the pregnancy. We were kind of going through a little pregnancy scare. At the time, my wife said, "You know what? Let's go to an Odessa concert. We'll feel much better."
Oh wow,
that's awesome.
Great.
Yeah, nothing came out of it.
Music is uplifting with
that.
Oh,
absolutely.
You know what I mean? Definitely.
Absolutely. Yeah. I live to Afro House. Like I'm into Afro House lately. That's my latest thing. But I listen to a wide variety of music. So I'm formally trained in piano and cello traditionally.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I play the piano and cello. So I always gravitated towards classical music at first, but my taste kind of diversified going through England, the Caribbean, and here. So yeah. Absolutely.
You mentioned earlier, like your connection to American culture as a kid was like through Hollywood. Do you have any like favorite movies from your childhood that were like?
Oh my gosh! Like
besides RoboCop.
Like I mean, yes, definitely Home Alone. I watch Home Alone. Like pretty much like seen every one of them. That's one. RoboCop and like Ghostbusters. Oh my gosh, Ghostbusters was like my religion for some time. Actually, Bill Murray. My gosh, I love
he's
that guy.
amazing. Yeah.
He's phenomenal. Like I've seen every single one of his movies. Like I absolutely adore him. And Rambo, obviously. Believe it or not, I watched my first horror film when I was like 14 because my dad accidentally brought the wrong movie, and it was William Friedkin's Exorcist. My dad's a huge movie buff. So I watched Exorcist and I was kind of traumatized for a couple of days, but then I recovered and I was like, wow, that can't be anything more horrifying than that. So let's keep watching more. So
I've never seen The Exorcist.
I've seen bits and pieces of it.
It's a must. It's a classic. William Friedkin, he's a master of his craft. Yes.
I have the impression in my head, which is probably a stereotype, that Indian or Sri Lankan parents are super strict and very traditional. Did your parents mind that you were into American culture? Did they want you, like, was that a point of contention or?
Oh, that's a very good question, actually. So yes, that is a very common assumption that Indian and Sri Lankan parents are strict, and the answer is yes. Because I think like it's the social construct, the societal construct is that way, where you want to accomplish something, so you have to have parents who are driven to kind of push you in that kind of direction. So that's how it kind of worked out. But my parents, I have to say though, like I'm very impressed by them because my dad and my mom have very good chemistry in a sense that they knew exactly what they wanted. They don't agree on a lot of things, but when it comes to their kids, they agree on a lot of things. Important stuff that matters. So they were actually like focused on like, we don't want them just learning about our culture and everything. We want them getting exposed to different things. We want them to have a kind of like a multifaceted person, that they want to grow up where you can appreciate different cultures. And because if you're going to be, because my mom always said that I'm going to become a doctor when I grow up. So it's like, we'll see about that. CSI Gil Grissom. That's still an option. So that meant that like, when you're kind of seeing patients, they come from different walks of life, different cultures, different backgrounds, different ethnicities. So the more culture you get exposed to, the more warm you can become to that, and the more understanding you can be. And I'm very thankful for that. That's why going to England and like going through the Caribbean and coming all this way here, that is something that really helped me, especially when I was in New York, because, you know, it's like the melting pot. Like you get like people coming from all over the world. Yeah. And I was able to like literally like vibe with everyone. And that is something, and I learned so much from them. And that is something that my parents allowed me to have. And my brother also same way. So yeah, honestly, like we were lucky that way. But yes, that's kind of how the culture is shifting towards.
Yeah, so I'm always fascinated to learn how people who immigrate to the States view the States before they get here.
Oh yeah,
I mean, like, because I'm an American kid born here, and I don't really know any different. You know, and I know that we are talked about a lot in especially with the rise of Trump and the political climate here in the country. Like, I'm just fascinated.
Yeah, when I was in London a couple months ago, every Uber I got into, every local I talked to heard my accent and immediately wanted to talk to me about politics or sports. That's what they wanted to talk. I said, can we skip over the politics and talk about sports?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I think like because like even before the politics and everything, honestly, like the American culture has a strong footing in like so many things. Yeah. Like, you know, even our culture has a huge influence from like the American culture, honestly, I would say in a good way, honestly, because it kind of did not make me kind of like an alien when I came here. Sort of like I didn't have a culture shock. Everything felt sort of relatively close to home because it kind of like grew myself into it. And, you know, coming here and working in Massachusetts, oh my gosh, like it's like a dream come true. Yeah. Like, it's amazing. Like, yeah.
That's
like
awesome.
I said, for us, like we think about America as the dream that you want to chase, and you want to come and accomplish this thing here. And like, this is where you come to do that. And that's the opportunity I was given, and I'm here now.
Well, it was been a real pleasure getting to know you. Yeah. And we really appreciate your years of schooling and hard work and dedication to preventative medicine. And really, I mean,
think of all the lives that you're affecting here. It's awesome.
Thank you so much. It's truly a pleasure. And honestly, I have to give huge credit to Dr. Schmelken, my boss.
Yeah, we love him.
Oh, yeah. He's the main reason why I wanted to come here because, like, you know, he's a phenomenal human being. Honestly, he, like, you know, the way he cares for me and the way he's kind of guided me through my career thus far since I started here has been phenomenal. And Jackie, just two blurbs about Jackie. I have to mention this because we didn't know anyone here. Western Massachusetts was kind of like complete nether region for us. We'd never been there before. So for me, the whole thing was that, oh my gosh, like how are we going to set up a foundation here when we don't know anyone? So the only people I got to initially get introduced to was the people at work.
Your coworkers.
Yes, exactly. And Jackie was there. And Jackie was a huge factor in terms of, because this is my first time being a dad. I don't know anything about being a dad. And she like, come here, let me sit you down. Let me give you some advice. She's the one who literally taught me how to set up the car seat for the baby. And when my wife delivered and the nurse was ready to show, I'm like, let me show you how it's done. And then like they were all amazed, like, who taught you this? Like, this is like a proper method right here.
That's something I do, All
I
learned something. No,
she's phenomenal.
She's lovely.
She's amazing.
I fell in love with her energy, and she's really outgoing and stuff. So
those two personalities alone, I mean, like, kudos to a lot of people at Berkshire Medical Center, but honestly, those two people alone really reassured us that like we are in very good hands, and it's going to be a great time here.
That's great. I love that.
All right, Dr. Amarnath, everybody, appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
All right.